Imagine that you are recruiting a new employee or contractor who arrives with so many questions. They might end up writing to everyone on Slack and potentially disrupting everyone's work. Now, imagine if your company could have an AI agent integrated into Slack that can instantly answer all of these different questions. Today, we are going to build exactly this, step by step. Let me show you how this will work. Here I can tag the AI agent and ask it questions about the remote work policy from the provided file and immediately get the response. This project can also serve as a foundation for adding more tools and connecting it with documents from other places as well, like Confluence or Google Drive. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. What's one task you wish an AI could handle for you or your team? I will pick some of your suggestions and build it from scratch on my next YouTube videos. So please drop your ideas in the comments. Now let's start with our basic setup and connecting the agent to Slack. Let's start by creating a new project. So here I'm on Cursor, but you can use pretty much any other IDE. And this is like where everything is going to happen, where we will create our AI agents first, and then we will connect it with Slack. And finally, I will show you how to deploy that on Replit. So first you click right here, and then we have the terminal, and we're going to use a library called UV. And what UV does is it allows us to create an environment and manage the dependencies. So the first thing you will do is UV init to initialize the project, and then you get all of the different files that we need. And as we see right here, we have a normal basic app, and I can do UV run main.py to directly execute the code. And here we can see that we have hello from AI Slack agent. So now we can add the library that we need, and the two different library that we need to start is Slackbot and also UV add load underscore .env. So this one is to have our environment variables. And then we have to create our .env file. So remember, this one is a file that contains all of your secrets that you should never commit to GitHub or any repositories and never share with anyone. So now I've created my .env file, and what I need to add to it is the Slack bot token and the Slack API token. And this is how you will do it. So you will do Slack app token equals, and then Slack bot token equals. And what we will also need, because we are using OpenAI, is OpenAI API key. So this is the three different keys that we need to get in order for our project to work. And the next thing you need to do after you create this .env file is to create a .env.example file so that it's on the repository and everyone can see what token and API keys is needed to run the project. So for that, I will just copy and paste, and I will rename this right here to .env.example. So now we need to add all of these different API keys. So for that, we will have to go to Slack. So where you will want to go is on this one, on api.slack.com/apps. And you will probably need like to have a Slack paid account. I have one, and I will show you exactly what to do. And the first thing is you will have to click here on the left. There is a little bug that shows your agent multiple times. I don't have that many, but you will click here on the left and on create a new app. And then here you can decide if you take it from manifest or from scratch. And manifest means that you can directly paste and have all of the settings, but I want to show you exactly how to set it up, so we will do it from scratch. So now I click here on from scratch, and here you will give it a name. So for example, AI coworker demo, let's call it. And then you will select a workspace where you want to develop and add that app or that bot into. So in my case, I want to add it into Innova Solutions. Then I can click here on Create App. So now I have all of the different parameters and settings that I need to configure in order for me to get my bot token and also my API token. And then what you will do is you will go here on the left and you will click on OAuth and permissions. And then inside scope, you will add some bot token scopes. So here you want to add app mention read. So this one is able to read and view the messages that directly mention AI coworker demo in the conversation that the app is in. So this is definitely something that you need. And I also added a couple of others. So channel history, channel read, chat write public, IAM history, IAM read, MPM history, reactions read, reactions write, and users read. So you don't need to add all of them. Like technically, if you just add app mention read and chat write, it should be enough. But I like to add some more because we will do some more things after as well in other videos. So just feel free to add whatever is needed. And now you can go at the top and you can do here in OAuth token, you can do install to Innova solution. So here it will be the name of your Slack workspace. And here you can click on allow. This will install the Slack chatbot directly inside my workspace. So now if I go inside my Slack, I can directly see it here on the left, AI coworker demo. And I can see that I cannot interact with it directly here in messages, but I will be able to tag it inside other chat. So here, for example, I can do directly at AI coworker demo, and then I can tap my text. We will see that a bit later. So this is like the first step of the setup, but now what I need to do is I need to add this OAuth token inside my Slack project. So now I can directly click here on copy and I can paste this directly inside Slackbot token right here. Now I also need the Slack app token, and this is something that I will also get inside that menus. And the way to get it is to go right here in basic information and then scroll down, and then here I will go on generate token and scope. So I can just click here and then here I will give it a name. So let's say AI coworker demo, for example, and then I need to add some scope. So what I would recommend you is to add the connections write and also authorization read. So now I can click here on generate, and this is like how I generate the app token. So now I can click here on copy, and then I can go back right here and I can paste it right there. Now the next step is to add an OpenAI API keys, and this is something that you can get directly inside platform.openai.com. So if I go right here in API keys, I can then click here on create a new secret key. Here I can put the name, so AI coworker Slack, for example, demo. And now I can click here on create secret, and then I can copy this and I can paste it there. Okay, so now we have all of our keys and everything that is set up from the permissions and all of that. So now what we can do is we can go back to our main.py and start developing. And now there's the last thing that we need to do is we need to enable socket mode. So to do that, you need to go back inside your Slack, and then you will go on the left on socket mode right here, and you will click here on enable socket mode. So now socket mode is enabled and you have all of the different permissions. So we should be able to talk directly from our app to Slack, so that when we are texting the text agent on Slack, it automatically calls our backend. And another thing we need to do inside the Slack API settings is to enable event subscriptions. So this helps the app to subscribe to be notified of events in Slack. So for example, when the user adds a reaction or create a file at a URL you choose. So what we want here is to enable this right here. And then we also want to add some bot event. And here is every time the bot is going to be mentioned, we want it to trigger that event so that our app knows about it and then can create a message, etc., etc. So I will click here on save changes now. Okay, so now everything is set up and I can go back right here. And here I've added the code that we will need for our first version, which will simply answer processing to any message that the user sends. So we create this super simple setup first, and then we iterate over it to then add some more AI agents answering instead of just that specific sentence. But for now, what we want to do is just testing if our setup is working. The next step is to create the app. So this is like creating kind of like the Slack bot in a way. And the next step is to register an event. So the way that events work with Slackbot is that you have to create this annotation right here where you can add the type of event. So as we see before, like right here in the list, we've added app mentioned right here, and this is defining exactly what we wanted to do when the bot is mentioned. What do we want to do when it is mentioned? Well, here we can have this print, but we don't really need it. But what we want to do is just using this say and say processing. So we just want to send the processing message directly after the message as an answer inside the thread. So here we are getting the event, and then from the event we're getting the thread ID that we can then use right here to know where exactly to put it, like which messages it matches with. And here we use say to directly say that answer. The next three line is simply initiating the whole app. So this one you don't really need to understand exactly what it's doing, but it's setting up the socket mode handler to like take in parameter the bot and also the app token. So this adds and start the listening to these specific events so that they can trigger exactly what we want to do right here. So now if I come back to our Slack right here, and I've just added this AI coworker demo inside that channel as well. And if I just tag it like this and say AI coworker demo and say, hello, how are you? Now we can see that it will immediately send a reply, which is processing, which is exactly what we wanted to do. Now, we don't want to send these generic messages or just send processing. We want to send this through an AI agent that we are creating inside our app. So the next step is to connect it directly with an AI agent that will for now be basic, and then we will add some tools to it, like for example RAG, which will allow us to answer any questions from any document. So let's get into it. And now we will need to add a couple of other dependencies. So we will have to write UV add LangGraph. So LangGraph is an agent framework. Then we need to add LangChain OpenAI. And then once we add these libraries, I've updated a bit the code right here, and I will go through it with you. First, I've added this dependency right here to create the React agent. And then I've updated a bit the code inside that method right here. So now what we are doing is we are also extracting the message, so the message of the user that the user sent. Then we are creating our agent. So here we are saying agent equals create React agent with a specific model. So this model right here is GPT-4o mini. We don't add any tools for now. Let's keep it simple. And then what we do is we invoke our agent. So what we will do right here is invoking our agent with a specific message. That is the role of the user with the specific content. So we're not putting any kind of like agentic instructions or whatever. We're just sending that message directly to OpenAI. We don't really need an agent for that, but we're gonna do it this way so that later on we can easily add some more tools and some more things. And then here we say text equals, and here we are extracting the last message response and taking the content from it. And then finally we are sending this to say. So instead of using this static message, which was, I think it was processing, now we are using the response from OpenAI directly in here, and then we are adding the thread again as we were doing before. So if I run just this right now, so if I do again uv run main.py, now I can send another messages again. So now if I just close this one and send here, hello, how are you? It will take a bit of time and then answer directly, hello, I'm just a program, so I don't have feelings, blah, blah, blah. So now we have a response directly from OpenAI. So now we have our connection from Slack to OpenAI and to our AI agent right here. So we can add some tools, we can change some prompt, and this is exactly what we were going to be doing right now. And the last thing I wanted to do in this video is to create a RAG. So we will create a folder with a file that is like our knowledge base, and inside that file we will put any text, and then our AI agent will be able to answer any questions from that text. So first let's create a docs folder. So here we'll create a docs folder. And inside that docs folder, we will call this file knowledgebase.txt. So I know that this could be even more powerful if we would use, for example, Confluence docs or Google Docs, etc. But I really want to keep this video simple so that you have an idea of how everything is working, and then you can start experimenting. I will also publish a lot more YouTube videos about exactly how to add and connect, for example, to Google Drive, or how to create multiple agents inside that setup, or having really specific agent that does specific things, because you can do a lot of things from this. You can connect, for example, to n8n or to any other backends, add a lot of different tools, but this is really the basic versions just to get started. So here I will add the basic kind of file just to see that everything is working, but you can add way more into that file, or you can also have multiple files, or also connect it to like Confluence, Google Doc, etc, etc. So here we have a simple file that says the remote work policy, Q3 marketing campaigns, deadline, office hours, etc, etc. And now I will create a tools folder right here where I will add another file. So this file will be called search.py and will contain all of our logic for our vector store. So this is a lot of code, but don't worry, I will go through it. And the first thing, as you see right here, is we have two different libraries to import. So again, we will open our terminal right here, and we will write and import these different libraries. So we will do uv add LangChain underscore chroma. So this is like our vector database. So we can use Pinecone as well, but this is like a local one that can run locally directly. But you can use some others like Pinecone, for example. The next step is to add also our library for the document loaders. So here it's uv add LangChain underscore community. And now we have the error that is gone. So what you need to know right here is, again, we are loading our environment variables. And then right here we have a get vector store method. So what this does is it returns the vector store that we are using. And we have two different scenarios. The first one is we already have a vector store. The next one is that we don't have a vector store. So here you will define the different embeddings. And embeddings are kind of like how you transform the text and the chunk of text into vectors. So I'm not going to go deep into this. There is another video that I will post right here at the top that is pretty old actually, but it's still really relevant to explain how RAG is actually working, but this is not really the purpose of this video. So here we will create these embeddings that will use OpenAI embeddings, text embeddings 3 large, and then we will decide where to put our vector store. So this is like a variable that says our vector stores are going to be inside chroma underscore LangChain underscore db. The next step is to check, do we already have a vector store or not? If we don't, then we are initializing RAG. And if we do, we are returning the chroma directly because it's persisted inside this folder right here. So here, as you see, I don't have any knowledge base right now. In initialize RAG, there is a bit of code right here, but don't worry, it's not too complicated. So the first thing is I'm defining again my embedding. So this actually could be directly at the top because we want to generalize that for both of them. And the path could also be made as global variables, but let's keep it simple for now. But yeah, this could be as a variable so that we can reuse the exact same path and we don't need to copy paste it all the time. And we don't really have this potential error that it's a different value. But anyway, so what we need to define is a text splitter. So the first step of RAG is to take our massive knowledge base.txt. I mean, this one is not too massive, but it can be really massive, and to divide it into chunks. So here we have 1000 chunk size and 200 overlap. So for example, it takes the first 1000 characters and then it takes the 200 at the end, and that will also be part of the next chunk. And it kind of like create all of these array of text that will then be embedded inside our vector stores. And the way this works is then it will figure out which of these different chunks are the most relevant to the query of the user and add that to the prompt to then be able to create an answer for the user. This is kind of like how RAG is working summarized in like 10 seconds. But yeah, so here we are decided of our documents and we are deciding where these documents are. So these documents are inside .docs right here. So this is like the root folder, and this is /docs, which is right here. And what we do right here is we are creating this document, which is these pieces of text that will then be fed inside our vector store. So here we check every file that have an ending with .txt. So we could actually have more than one file right here. And we are adding this file inside these documents right here that we can then create our vector store. What this does right here, it's not really important for now, but it's basically each of these different documents will have an ID, and the ID is the index of that document. So for example, if we have, let's say, 5 chunks, we'll have the first chunk will have UID 1, the second one 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is because this is something required from that library right here to create. So here we are doing chroma.fromDocuments. We put all of our different documents, we specify which embeddings we are using, and then we are specifying where to persist it, so in /chroma LangChain db, and finally we are precising the IDs, and then we are returning this vector store right here. And that's mostly it for this tool. right here. And in order to use that tool inside our main.py and inside our main agent, we still don't really need to add a prompt for our specific agent, even though you still can. Like you can just use right here, you can use prompt and then you can paste directly like the text of the prompt. But in this one, we don't really need any prompt. What we will simply do is we will add a tool right here, and that tool will be our vector store. Now, we don't really want to create an agent every single time that our bot is mentioned. This was actually a mistake that I've done from the previous part. So we want to move this agent here out of that as a global variable. So I will remove this right here, and this logic right here will be exactly the same, but here we will add a couple of things. So the first thing we will add is our vector store. So now we can import our function right here, get vector store, from our custom made tools.search. So here we will do from tools.search import, and then we will put the method that we want to import, which is get vector store. So now this is imported right here. And then we need to import this create retriever tool that I will come back in a sec. So here I will do from langchain.tools.retriever import create retriever tool. So what this does right here is it takes a vector store as a parameter. You put it a name of the tool, and then you say exactly when to call it, and it will create a retriever tool. And then that tool can directly be added here as a tool to our agent, and that's it. So now what happens is I will run this code. It will go right here in get vector store. It will check if there is a vector store or not. If there is a vector store, great, it will return it. If there is no vector store, it will initialize it by calling this initialize rag. Here we do all of our logic to add the chunks inside the vector store. And after that, here we are creating our retriever tool based on that vector store. And then we have our agent, which will use this model right here and have one tool, which is the retriever tool that we've just created. So if I run the project again, so uv run main.py, now it says that Bolt app is running. So I can go again right here and test if this is working. So if I just send this message again and I ask, what is the remote policy? Let's see if it's able to answer this question. So let's see what it says. And it says the company's remote policy operates on a hybrid work model. Here's the key points: in office days, remote days, fully remote roles. And if we go here, we see that the remote days are Monday and Friday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for collaboration. So if I go right inside my knowledge base right here, we can see that this is exactly what is right here. So it says the mandatory days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we can see that it's actually using this to answer the question. Now I can ask as well, for example, tell me more about Q3 deadline. So then this is like what I will ask, and then we will see if it's actually using the different data that it has from within this knowledge base right here, including creative asset is September 15. So let's see what it says. Then we can see right here that it says the deadline is September 15. So now we can make this way more complicated and add some extra logic and add some like external vector database and so on. But this is like a quick demo that I wanted to show you in less than 10-20 minutes. I'm not sure how long the video will be, but this is really like an easy setup that you can build so that you can build AI agents and make them accessible directly on Slack. This is really valuable, and this is something that you can also either do for your own company or sell to other clients as well. This is something I've built for a couple of clients that have asked, and of course these are like, this one is really basics. I've been way more complicated different AI agents. So let me know in the comments if there is any kind of features that you want me to implement with that AI Slack agent, and I will do it in further video. So don't hesitate to let me know like what type of content you want to see more in this channel. This really helps me to make valuable content that you all want to see. And now the final step I wanted to show you is how you can deploy this with Replit. So you can use other hosting platforms, like for example Heroku or Google Cloud Run or even Render, but I want to show you the simplest one, which is Replit, and we will deploy it so that anyone can use it and you don't have to install it directly on your laptop. And I will show you that it's actually not that hard to do exactly that. So first I will do Control C to stop this right here, And now if I use and if I send a message, nothing is going to happen. This is really important because you can't have two running at the same time. And then I will go right here on Google Chrome and I will go on replit.com. So there is a whole interface right here to create it, and you can even like talk with their AI if you have the subscription. I don't, so I won't be able to deploy it properly, but I can show you how you could do it if you want to deploy it. So first you click here on Create App, and you will click here on Choose a Template, and then you will select Python. I would highly recommend you to push your code whenever you can into Git first, and then use the Git continuous deployment to have it linked with Replit. We won't cover this in this video. If you want me to cover that, let me know in the comment as well. Here we will do a simple setup where we will just click right here on Python Replit, and this will create the project. So then you put a title. So here you could say, for example, AI Slack Agent Demo. This is like how I will call it. And then I will click here on Create App. And then you have this interface right here. And there's a couple of things that you can do, but what I would just recommend you to do is to not really have a lot of things right here, is just to take all of the different files and create them right here. So here we have our main.py. So what I will do is I will take this main.py right here, copy it and putting it here like this. So as you see right here, there is no dependency added. So you can go again through it and do UV add and add every single dependency. But what you can also do as a bit of a hack is to take these dependencies right here and paste them right here. So now they are pasted right here. I have all of my dependencies. They will still show errors here, but they will then later on be gone. So I will continue pushing all of my different files. So another one was the tools one. So I add a folder like this, and I add my search.py inside that folder. So then inside this tool right here, I will add search.py. And here I paste all of my file right here again. And then I will add my docs as well. So here I will create a folder, docs, add a file, which I will call knowledgebase.txt. And then I will paste all of the knowledge base from here. So now I have my docs, I have my tools, my main. So I have most of the things right here. The thing that I don't have is my environment variables. So here you want to add these environment variables in there, but you don't want to do it with addFile.env and then put everything in there. What you want to do is you want to use something that they have, which is called secrets. So it's a bit similar to secrets in Google Cloud Run, or also environment variable in AWS if you are experienced with that. If you are, then I don't even need to explain to you what I'm doing right here. But if you're not, you simply click here on the left and then you go on secrets. And then here you can add them one by one. So you can click here on new secret, you put the key and the value right here. So now I've added all of my secrets right here. I've added my docs, my tools, and now I will click here on search and put .replit, because this is the file that executes all of the different code. And I don't want to run Python 3 main.py, but I want to run uv run main.py. So this is what I will do. And now you can go at the top and click on run. So this will run automatically this command uv run main.py that will install all of the library automatically in the project. So you could see that now it's directly started. So now it is actually running. As you can see here, it says Bolt app is running, which means that I can do as well again here and ask exactly the same. And it will also run that right there. So if I just remove the filter right here, you can see that it has created my vector database as well, and it's running. So now if I go back right here, it automatically answered exactly the same as before with the answer that I want. Now this is simply running the project on Replit. What you will want to do is you will want to deploy it as well. So to deploy it, you have to click, first of all, you stop it again. Then you click here on deploy, and then here you will select reserved VM, and you will directly continue with the different steps. There's not too many steps. If there is a step that asks you which command to run, you will simply put this one, uv run main.py, and then you will go through the different deployment. There are a couple of other videos online to show you how to deploy it. So then this allows anyone in the company to ask any questions about a specific knowledge base. For now, in this video, we are using a simple text file, but you can connect this pretty much to any database you want, and you can add some other things as well. So you can use Confluence, you can use Google Drive, and change and connect this tool search right here to match directly with that. So what you can do now is, instead of checking here for /docs, you can instead connect it to web, or you can connect it to Google Drive or Notion or whatever you think is appropriate. You can also connect it to Obsidian if you want. And then you will be able to create a Slack bot that answers any questions based on that knowledge base. You can also, going back to our main.py, you can also add more tools. So what you can do is, here you can add and create more tools inside the tools package, and then add these different tools to the agent right here, add a prompt, and then the AI agent will be able to use this prompt and these new tools to perform actions for you simply from Slack. So now you know how to create a Slack agent that can perform tasks, and the next step is to add more tools that brings even more value to your business, whether that's lead research and qualification, content generation, email writing, or managing your to-do list. If you would like my help in building these type of automations and integrating them into your business, just reach out to me by clicking on the link in the description. Or if you're serious about building AI agents and automations like this one, I've created a cool community where we dive deep into building custom AI solutions, and you will get access to exclusive templates, live build sessions, and a community of like-minded business owners and AI enthusiasts. Check out the link in the description and join us today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below if you have any questions or suggestions of content you want me to cover. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.